Hello everyone, this is Here's Trivia, and today we're continuing the late scholar Lu Meng Let's Talk Lore series with episode 7 titled Targeting Guan Yu. Now last time we ended as Lu Meng was reassigned as the Director of Officers, or Du, on the Wu Western Front at Lukou following Lu Su's death in the winter season of 217. In addition to this assignment, Sun Quan also granted Lu Meng command of the over 10,000 private retinue of Lu Su, and promoted him as the new administrator of the Hanchang Commandery, which was a new commandery created by Sun Quan through the splitting of the northern half of the Changsha Commandery. An interesting trivia about this commandery is that the name Hanchang means a thriving Han. And in 229, when the Kingdom of Wu was established, this commandery would actually change its name to Wuchang, which, as you guessed it, means a thriving Wu. Alongside the increase in troops, Sun Quan also added 4 additional counties to Lu Meng's existing title land of 2 counties, which made Lu Meng the strongest, wealthiest, and the most influential general serving Sun Quan at the time. With such responsibilities and trust given to him, Lu Meng knew that Sun Quan was ready to move in on Guan Yu and the rest of the Jin province despite the signing of the Xiang River Treaty 2 years prior that re-established the border between Sun Quan and Liu Bei in the Jin province. As after all, it was Lu Meng who had previously gone behind his boss Lu Su's back and sent a battle plan in secret to Sun Quan, attempting to persuade Sun Quan to shift his focus from the northern front around Hefei towards the western front. Now, the reason that Lu Meng had to go behind Lu Su's back is because Lu Su favored maintaining the Sun-Liu alliance. Lu Su's rationale centered mostly around the threat of Cao Cao in the north, for as long as Cao Cao remains the dominant power amongst the 3 sides, Sun Quan should never waste resources fighting Liu Bei in the Jin province, especially when Guan Yu is holding on to the northern part of the Jin province directly bordering Cao Cao's territory. So in a sense, Guan Yu was the shield that was protecting Sun Quan from Cao Cao in this area. Now, for a few years, Sun Quan did prescribe to this strategy as he focused most of his resources on his northern front, seeking to achieve a breakthrough in the Yang province. Unfortunately, this strategy has yet to yield any results, with Sun Quan failing repeatedly at Hefei. So when Lu Meng presented his battle plan to Sun Quan in secret, he sought to address all these concerns. First, Lu Meng argued that once they displaced Guan Yu in the Jin province, the Nan Commandery can then be entrusted to General Sun Jiao, who was Sun Quan's cousin. General Pan Zhang and his troops can then push deeper to take control of Baidi and completely choke off the Yangtze River, preventing Liu Bei from launching any counterattacks to retake the Jin province. In between Baidi and Nan, a mobile naval unit of 10,000 troops under the command of Jiang Qin will then patrol this length of the Yangtze River, serving as a rapid response unit that can reinforce either side in case of aggression by either Liu Bei or Cao Cao. Most importantly, Lu Meng volunteered himself to lead an offensive campaign in Xiangyang against Cao Cao, which he argued would yield a much more promising result than their push on the northern front around Hefei. While there's nothing inherently wrong with Lu Meng's battle plan, there are a few questionable claims that Lu Meng makes to support them. First, he claimed that Guan Yu and Liu Bei can't be trusted, and that with Guan Yu holding control of the ports upstream from Wu on the Yangtze River, it would be just a matter of time before Guan Yu would launch a naval invasion of Wu. This, of course, made no logical sense, as it was evident that Cao Cao was and will always be Liu Bei's first target, as his main goal was to restore the Han. And in the decade since Guan Yu occupied the Nan Commandery, there have been exactly 0 attempts to expand towards the territories held by Sun Quan. Of course, to reconcile with this reality, Lu Meng opted for flattery, as he would write to Sun Quan that the only reason Guan Yu has not shown any signs of aggression against Wu is because of the wise rule of Sun Quan. But despite Sun Quan's brilliance, Lu Meng is still worried that once the loyal and capable generals, such as himself, dies to old age, Guan Yu might make his move. So why not be the more proactive force when they are still in their prime and strong to take down Guan Yu once and for all? Even if you were to ignore the fallacy that Guan Yu would still be alive once Lu Meng dies of old age, as Guan Yu was actually much older than Lu Meng's argument here is a classic case of speaking an enemy into existence. Another questionable claim that Lu Meng used was the argument that taking the Xu province would be less valuable than taking the Jin province. Once again, resorting to flattery, Lu Meng wrote that with Cao Cao focusing less in the Xu province, he knew that Sun Quan could easily take control of this province on the eastern front, but with the Xu province being mostly open plains with few rivers, it will favor Cao Cao's cavalry whenever Cao Cao launches his counterattack to retake the province. This means they would have to commit more troops, numbering at least 70 to 80,000, to defend this province. Meanwhile, if they defeat Guan Yu in Nan and then Cao Ren in Xiangyang, they can leave less troops behind to defend these locations, as both are connected to the Yangtze River, which allows for rapid reinforcement in case of any counterattacks by Cao Cao. Now, the fallacy here starts with Sun Quan's ability to take the Xu province when he can't even claim the northern half of the Yang province, even when he had a 100,000 to 8,000 numerical advantage at Hefei. On top of this, if Sun Quan ever wants to transition from just a regional warlord that relies on the natural barrier of the Yangtze River into someone actually capable of conquering all of China, then eventually he would have to take territory away from the Yangtze River and be able to hold these territories. So just because the Jin province would be an easier target does not make it a more valuable one for Wu, as it would just further reinforces the notion that while the Yangtze River serves as a wall that protects Wu, it is also the same wall that entraps Wu. In either case, Lu Meng's appointment as Lu Su's replacement clearly signaled Sun Quan's shift from the northern front to the western front, and their collective desire to attack and remove Guan Yu from the Jin province. And to achieve this, the first thing Lu Meng did at his new post was to repair relationship with Guan Yu, writing Guan Yu letters where he heaped endless praise at Guan Yu while showing deference, all in an effort to numb Guan Yu to the threat of a Wu attack. But despite Lu Meng's best efforts, Guan Yu never trusted Lu Meng, given Lu Meng was the one who led the surprise attack on Changsha, Guiyang, and Lingling commanderies, and the manner in which Lu Meng lied to Administrator Hao Pu. So in roughly a year and a half later, when Guan Yu launched his northern expedition against Xiangyang in July of 219, he initially left behind a large amount of troops in the Nan commandery, precisely because he recognized Lu Meng as a real threat to stab him in the back. In response to this, Lu Meng suggested to Sun Quan that given that he already had an established reputation of getting sick frequently, they could publicly announce that he would need to return to Jianye, along with a portion of his retinues, so that he can visit doctors and rest. And hopefully once Lu Meng departs, Guan Yu would then commit more of his troops from the Nan commandery towards his northern expedition against Cao Cao. At that point, Lu Meng can then just return quickly, utilizing their navy up the Yangtze River to launch a surprise attack against Guan Yu when he can least afford it. Approving Lu Meng's plan in October of 219, Lu Meng was recalled back from the Western Front and asked to return to Jianye. And just as Lu Meng had anticipated, once he departed, Guan Yu started to shift more and more of his troops north to facilitate his siege on Fan Castle, as the threat of a Wu backstab lessened with the news of Lu Meng's illness and departure from the Jin province. While this ploy is really quite treacherous, especially when you consider it was being used to target an ally, the manner in which Lu Meng will launch his surprise attack would become the main reason why, despite his military success, most historians view Lu Meng's campaign against Guan Yu quite negatively, And to find out exactly what Lu Meng did, come back next time as we'll continue our series tomorrow with episode 8 titled The Crossing in White. Now, hopefully you all have enjoyed this episode enough to consider subscribing to the channel for more content on Three Kingdoms history, or simply support the channel by leaving a comment below, or just by hitting the like button. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye!